Hi everyone, welcome back to another video here on the channel. My name is Mafalda, as most of you know by now, and today I decided to do a different review from the ones that I usually do, and I hope you enjoy it, so stay tuned. So, as most of you know by now, I really enjoy reading and I really enjoy books, and during summertime I'm usually seasonal reader, so I usually like to read books that are in the mood of the weather, you know what I mean? So now it's summer and I'm really into reading a lot of contemporary romances and all of that. So that being said, usually in summer I really like to read light romances, and one of my favorite authors to read during summer is Emily Henry. Now most of you know her because of her other books. She has, for me, two amazing books, Beach Read and Book Lovers. They are two of my favorite books, so I read it last summer. So when I knew that she was going to release a new book this year, I was like, I need to have it, and so I bought her new book, and it's called Happy Place, and I was super excited to have this one. So let's start with the cover. Usually they have, as most of you know by now, usually the covers have two editions, so the UK edition and the US edition. I believe that this is the UK edition, but I'm not 100% sure. I really like this one. I prefer this cover to the other one, and I usually like the covers with the, drawings and all of that better, or much more, than I like the more plain versions. I don't know if it's because of the colors or if it's because of the people that are here, like the drawing of people, so I'm really drawn to this type of covers. And I really like it. It usually makes me feel very happy and usually tells me that the book is fun. So that's what I felt when I saw this on the website. And so I bought the huge paperback version because on one hand it's easier for me to write, because I like to, highlight some of the quotes that I read in the books. And on the other hand, it's easier for me to read because as most of you know, I don't see very well. So this version has a lot of big letters, so I really enjoyed it, and it's easier for me. So I really was drawn to the book mainly because the summary of the abstract summary of the book was about two former boyfriend and girlfriend, like two people that dated, and they both shared the same group of friends. So when they started dating, one of the main concerns of both of them was what will happen if we break up, and they did after 10 years, I think it was 10 years, but after a while they did broke up, which was not very good. However, neither of them told their friends that they broke up, so that was kind of like the main plot of the story. So none of the friends of their friends knew that they were actually separated. So the female main character, Harriet, arrives at her happy place, her safe haven, the beach house of one of her friends, Sabrina. They go there every single summer since college. Firstly, the three of them, three best friends, and then with their respective friends and lovers. And so it's like a safe haven for them, and they really enjoyed it. So it was supposed to be Harriet's time, Harriet's safe place during that month of summer. However, Sabrina and all of her friends surprise her by inviting her former boyfriend, actually fiance, because they were about to be married, wine, and they invited him to come along to their usually friends' vacation. So it's not something that Harriet was expecting, and when she arrives she sees him there and she needs to pretend that they are in love because their friends don't know that they are actually break up. They actually break up, so yeah. So that was the whole plot of the book, actually, is that funny little moments when you see that these two people actually have feelings. They still have feelings for each other, but life happened and they had to separate it. And even though they are separated and they are actually a bit bitter, and because they regret it, they don't really know how to deal with all of those feelings, and at the same time they need to pretend that they are in love for the sake of the their group of friends. Plus, we know that this will be the last summer that they will spend in that house because Sabrina's father will sell the house. So they actually want to, like, okay, let's do this and just pretend for the sake of our friends, and then by the end of the week we will tell them that we are separated. That was the deal that they made. But a lot of things happen, as you know, because it's a rom-com, and that's the thing that the rom-coms have that we all love, like things happen and you can't really control that, and you need to just go along with the flow because you can't fight. That's the rom-com idea that I really liked it as a control freak, so that's kind of like an oxymoron for me, but which is fine. I really like books like that because it's kind of like make me feel like I am a control freak, but I actually don't need to be a control freak, which is cool. But yeah, so I was very drawn to the plot of the book, and I was very interested in the characters and all of that dynamic, and I really liked their, you know, quick remarks and their dialogues. And once again, Emily's writing style is amazing. Emily Henry is by far one of the best rom-com writer, and by far one of the best rom-com writer for summer. So I usually recommend reading Emily Henry during summer. However, and this is just too bad for me, but however, this book was not as good as the other books that I read, that she wrote, actually. So even though I really liked the story, I didn't feel compelled by it. So it wasn't brilliant, it wasn't staggering, it wasn't like that. It was just a book about two people that were separated, and they had to pretend to their friends, and you know, you didn't have any plot twist, you don't have any major event happening here. It's just a linear kind of story that you kind of see why or what will happen by the end of the book, in the beginning of the book. So it's kind of like you are reading the first 4 chapters, and you already know what will happen in the end. And it's kind of like a bummer to me, because I felt like in Beach Read and in Book Lovers, I felt like it was a little bit of expected, the end, but you usually had a plot twist that made you feel like, oh, okay, that ending, it makes sense, because there will be no other way around it. However, in this book, it just felt like it felt like she already knew that when she was writing the beginning of the book, which is obviously what writers do, or whatever. It's their method. I'm not a writer, so I can't really comment on it. But I felt like the book is missing something. Like it doesn't have a spark. It doesn't have something that I usually feel drawn to. And for that reason, I felt very disappointed, because usually Emily Henry books make me feel like cozy and happy, and you know, that butterfly feeling in your stomach and all of that. And this one was just, yeah, cool, but why did I waste 5 hours of my life reading this if it's not adding anything to my life? That's what I felt, which is a bummer, because I really like Emily Henry. You still have amazing books that are available and that are rom-coms, and that you can actually have that spark that I'm talking about, and that I felt like it was missing from Emily. And it's actually pretty interesting because during summertime, it's usually when rom-coms are common in a way that people are usually drawn to them. I don't know if it's because they are on vacation and they want to read books that are, you know, happy and you know, different in a way that, for instance, I usually read dark academia in September, October, very dark witches vibes in November, and December I read cozy Christmassy books. So, and then in the rest of the year I usually read something about vampires or fantasy, basically vampires, werewolves, bad boys and all of that. So usually in summer is when I read the more girlish and romantic books, and I feel like that's not unusual in the book community. That being said, I felt like she lost a very good opportunity to have a good book. However, I do feel that you do have a very good author out there that it can help you light that spark again. And I'm obviously talking about Ellie Hazelwood. So I think that most of you know by now that she wrote The Love Hypothesis. It's already translated to Portuguese and other languages, so if you can't read in English, please see if it's translated to your native language. The Love Hypothesis is my favorite book, my favorite rom-com. I read this book and I felt like this book was written for me, and I loved Ellie Hazelwood's style, I loved everything. So this book was actually the book that made me fall in love with rom-com, and I have to thank Ellie Hazelwood for that. And she just published another one. So she published last year in August Love on the Brain, and I enjoyed it, but once again it was missing something, and I felt like she dodged the bullet in that one and it wasn't that good. And then she released this one this year, so Love Theoretically. And maybe it's because I also work in academia, I'm doing my PhD, and I felt very compelled with Love Hypothesis because as most of you know, the female main character is doing her PhD, so I felt like she was writing that book for me. And obviously for most of the people that are doing their academic, doing their PhD or their masters and all of that. And Love Theoretically is actually one step further from that PhD. So I'm almost done with my PhD. I still have 2 years, 1 year and a half actually, to finish. And I feel like I'm already concerned with some of the things that are written in this book. And I feel like, once again, she literally just read my mind. That's what I feel like. And her writing style was once again perfect, and I felt like in Love on the Brain she must have felt a lot of pressure to, you know, write another book as good as The Love Hypothesis, and I don't think that she was able to deliver that, at least not for me. But in this one, I think that she was. I think that this book is the perfect rom-com that just came out this year and that you need to read if you felt the lack of spark in Happy Place. So, long story short, this book is about theoretical physicist, Halsey. She did a PhD and she's actually an adjunct professor. That means that she doesn't earn enough to cover her life expenses. And so she is actually on a dating app to be a fake girlfriend in certain events. And that's how she can manage to pay the rent and to pay other things that she needs. I don't want to say what they are because that's a major plot spoiler and I don't want to do it. But she needs money to pay other things, and that's how she earns enough to make her earns enough. She's very smart, she's very intelligent, and she feels like she should have opportunities that she didn't have and she doesn't understand why she doesn't have those opportunities. However, she's actually invited by MIT to an interview, and she's very excited. She feels like finally it's her time and all of that, and everything crumbles down when she realizes that the one that he's going to interview her, one of the people that is going to interview her, one of the jury, is actually Jonathan Turner Smith, who was the one that 15 years ago destroyed the field of theoretical physicists. He is an experimental physicist, so they are on other side of the physics field, and he's actually the one that destroyed the theoretical physics field. He published in a very renowned academic journal, and his article was accepted, and it was actually an article making fun of theoretical physics, and that actually ruined theoretical physics, because he proved that theoretical physics is just rubbish. That is the thing that they are always discussing, because she's a theoretical physicist and she defends her field, and he's an experimental physicist, and he actually says that he can't do anything if he doesn't have the help of theoretical physicists, but usually there is a huge gap between the people that are in the two spectrums of the physics field. And it's very interesting that Hailey Hazel would engage in that discussion very easily, actually, and very simple in a way that you can understand it, even though that you aren't working in STEM or you aren't, an academic and all of that. It's very easy to follow her story. And that's why I think it's very good, because she doesn't only create an enemies to lovers, she creates an enemies to lovers that is actually possible to happen in real life. And she creates enemies to lovers with grounds for different perspectives to emerge, which is interesting, because you see that people actually, make bad decisions and bad choices because they are hurt, or because they want to take revenge on someone, or because they really don't know how to, navigate in this world without doing some things or certain things. And I think that she delivered a perfect book, because she engages in those discussions without, being too boring, or without you actually understand what's going on. So I actually started reading this book in an ebook, and then I had to buy the physical copy because I had to highlight it, because it was that good. So if you are kind of bummed out because Happy Place wasn't good for you, or it was missing something, Love Theoretically is the book that will help you feel that rom-com spark again. Trust me. But if you are looking for a book that is cozy and cute, a book that is for all the gentle girls and all the Swifties out there, this one is perfect for you. Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams. Now, this one is the second one. The first book is When in Rome. So the first book follows the story of her eldest brother, and this one follows the story of Henny, the youngest sister. And Henny Walker is just a small, I don't want to say, a gentle-hearted person. She's very cute, she's very funny, she's very gentle, she's very cute, she's very gentle, and most of the people perceive her as, that girl that is always in the corner reading, in this case reading and working with flowers, and that way she needs to be protected and she won't hurt a fly. That's the description of Annie Walker right there. And she's actually okay with that kind of perception that people have of her, but at the same time she's not that okay, because she feels like everyone is always protecting her and treating her like a fragile thing that will break, So she actually feels like she needs to she knows that she needs to work on her confidence and all of that, but at the same time she's very introvert, she's very softy, she doesn't want to do that. So that reflects a lot in her love life, on her love life. So usually her dates say that she's too boring, or say that she's too, you know, in Portuguese we have a saying that it's literally bread without salt, you know, pãozinho sem sal in Portuguese. So it's like she doesn't have spark, she doesn't have a spine, she's just, you know, she does what he told her to do and all of that. That's actually not true. Annie Walker is very strong-minded, but people, you know, it's a perception of people, and that actually affects a lot of her love life. So when her friend Amanda suggests that, okay, I'm going to help you with your love life, do you trust me? And Annie says yes. She wasn't expecting that Amanda, who is actually a pop star, and he will marry Annie's brother. So that's the couple of the first book. She wasn't expecting that Amanda was thinking of suggesting to Will, her former bodyguard, who is her friend, like a hot guy. She wasn't expecting that she would suggest to Will that he trained Annie into dating. So the idea of Amanda is that Will tutor Annie into dating. And they are actually opposites. So Will is adventurous, he seeks like adventure all the time, he hates routine, he hates staying in the same place, he has a lot of tattoos, dark hair, you know, that morally gray kind of thing. He's a morally great character that we all love and adore. And Annie is actually someone that is looking for someone to settle down, she wants to create a family, at least she thinks she wants to create a family, and all of that. So they are actually opposites, but Annie can create a family if she's carrying all the guys, so she actually accepts Will's offer, and they actually start to pretend they are dating in order to the town that is always protecting Annie. In order to the town not, you know, killing him. So this book is actually gives me a lot of Gilmore Girls vibes, you know, in the way that the small town Hollow started. In the way that the small town people protect Rory. This is the same vibe, so I actually feel like this is the perfect book for people that love Gilmore Girls. And this is the perfect book for people that love an enemies to lovers, but without all the blood and all the drama of fantasy, for instance. And for people that are looking for a very cozy rom-com. Now, don't expect a major plot twist. Don't expect nothing like that. But do expect a lot of deeper connections between the characters. I feel like Adams was able to write a very interesting book that has a lot of complicated notions about death, grief, loss, how that affects a family, how a family sees other members of the family, and how how the trauma of something can actually prevent you to be your true self. So that's actually very interesting, the way that she was able to, you know, compose a very good book with all of that here. And you do have two different characters. One is looking for a family, other is running away from family. One is you know, traumatized by the death of their parents, other is traumatized by the divorce of theirs. So it's very different, it's different topics, but they are united in a way that they grieve or they long for that security and that life they were supposed to have, but they didn't because life happens. But at the same time, they are aware that the roles and the categories that people create for you aren't usually true. It's just people's perception of you, and sometimes that's wrong. And she actually was able to dwell on all of that without creating a very massive and boring book, but I think that it was brilliant, actually. I think that it was one of the best books that I've read. And I've read When in Rome, but it was a long time, so I think I need to reread it, because I don't think that her writing style was this good. At least I don't feel like I connected to the characters like I connected in this one. My neighbors are doing some noises, sorry. So I feel like this one is also a very good suggestion, a very good option if you feel like Happy Place left you feeling empty and void. Because I really felt like Happy Place could have been better in a way that it didn't have any spark on it. So yeah, those are my suggestions for you, and this is my review about Happy Place. And at the same time, practice makes perfect and left theoretically. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope I didn't ramble too much. And if you did, please give it a thumbs up. Follow me on Instagram, the link is in the description box down below. And see you in the next one. Until then, have a great read.